Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Monday to all of you, and I hope that you had a great weekend. Before we start, let me say thank you very much to the sponsor of this video, Genesis Gold Group, and also that this afternoon at 3 p.m. Alaska time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, I am going to be live on Gray Man Prepping's channel for our weekly meetup. So be there, ladies and gentlemen, because it is a great time. Today it will be on Gray Man's channel. I will try to leave the link to that on my community page. Okay, so all you have to do is go there, click on it and say notify me, and it'll notify you before the live stream starts. Another thing is I'm going to try to do something new that's going to be fun. All right, so I'll probably have a second video out today. Later on, it may be after the live stream, it may be before it, but I'm going to try to have a second video out today that's something new that I'm trying that should be a lot of fun. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I think it's going to be kind of funny. We'll see what happens with that. But today we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, or at least on this video, how we are approaching the end game. And I hope that those of you that have taken the time to click on this video or click on any other video, from truth tellers to preppers to financial channels, that we are reaching the end game and we have to be prepared for what's coming. Why? Because it is very important that not only for the United States of America, but for every country in the world, that the patriots of their country, those that love their country and want to see their country flourish, that they get prepared. That way, on the other side of whatever happens, there can be strong people that love their country that can carry the torch. The petrodollar endgame moves even closer. I'm not going to go through the entire explanation of what the petrodollar is for those of you that may not know. I've talked about this a lot over the years, but this article actually explains to you what that is, when it started back in 73, 74, a couple of years after Nixon took us off of the gold standard, which in itself was a major time in our history, because what it did was it took away the power from the people and gave the power to the banks. And you can see that that's exactly what's going on now. But here, just a couple of days ago, or a few days ago, Russia went over to Saudi Arabia and they went ahead and struck a deal. Not only is Saudi Arabia trading oil and other currencies than the dollar, and notably, it's the yen that they're trading oil with, which is not very good news, ladies and gentlemen. It now appears that the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, is also strategically shifting away from the US dollar. Why is this, ladies and gentlemen? Why are all these countries slowly but surely shifting away from the US dollars? Well, let's cover the slowly first. Slowly is because they're probably sitting on a lot of dollars. And if they shift away from the dollar really quick, it's going to devalue the dollar really quick. So the dollars that they get left with, they're not going to be able to do anything with it. So they're doing it little by little, getting rid of their dollars little by little. Look at China. China used to be our biggest holder of US dollars or treasury notes, right? They used to be the biggest holder. Now they're not. Now they're under $1 trillion. I think at one time they were even above what Japan held, and now they're at, I think, around 800 billion or so, which is a lot of it to go down just over a few years. So as they start to slowly get rid of those dollars, where do you think those dollars are going to go? Because they have to go somewhere. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the end game, what I see happening is that all of those dollars come back to the US. And if you've experienced, as I'm sure you have, all of the inflation and the prices of goods over the last few years, the main reason for that is why? Because the economy was flooded with dollars that were printed out of thin air by our administration, i.e. the Federal Reserve. Right? So what happens is, more dollars in the system, the more dollars that it costs to buy stuff. Now imagine when the dollars that are being used to trade around the world come back home. It's going to be inflation like we've never, ever experienced before. Not in the history of mankind. Not even going back to Zimbabwe. Not even going back to Argentina or Venezuela or the Weimar Republic. It's going to be the biggest event that has occurred in the history of mankind. And I do not say that lightly. I'm not a financial advisor, but the folks at Genesis Gold Group specialize in helping those who want to diversify their excess wealth by converting their fiat currency retirement plans into a plan that is backed by real money. So if you're in a position where you are wondering what you can do in order to diversify or insulate your wealth against what I like to call the inferno of inflation, give Genesis Gold Group a call, and they can provide you with the information that you need in order to make an educated decision. So here they continue saying that this move involving potential deals with up to 15 countries, including China, Russia, and Egypt, is part of the de-dollarization trend led by the BRICS alliance. The move is redefining global economics and challenging the US dollar's dominance in international trade. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't say this enough. You have to prepare yourself. How do I prepare myself, AP? What can I do about this? Well, what you can do about this is try to get out of the system as much as you can. I've often mentioned that there's going to be a big event. I don't know what that big event is. It may be a cyber attack. It may be that all of the countries, I think it's called Operation Sandman, that where all of the countries that are aligned together dump their dollars at the same time in the same day, and it makes the dollar plummet, etc., 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 ladies and gentlemen. But you just got to get ready. How do you get ready? Get out of the system as much as you can. Get all of the preps that you possibly can. And if you have a little bit of extra wealth or excess wealth, what I like to call it, go ahead and empower yourself by having some gold and silver. Why? Ladies and gentlemen, people are always saying you can't eat gold, you can't eat silver, which is true, or you can eat it, but you're not going to get any nutritional satisfaction out of it, right? You're not going to get any nutrition out of it. It's just going to come out the other end. But you have to understand that it's only been for the last 140 years or so, something like that, maybe less, that we've been in a fiat currency system here in the U.S. It's only been for like the 100 and something years. Before that, it was gold back. It was real money, sound money. Why? Because the people understood back then that when the government has to use sound money, real money that can't be printed out of thin air, that it is we the people that have the power. But they also understand, that whenever they have a fiat currency system like we do now, it is the government that has the power. Ask yourselves of all of these things that have been passed, all of the money that this government has spent sending overseas to this, to that, to anyone they want, spending money on anything they want. Do you think that they have the power over us? Absolutely. They can do whatever they want with the money that they create out of thin air that devalues the dollars that you actually had to work for. So they have the power. They will not give up their power easily. They will fight to the end to maintain and keep their power. And that is why we have to be prepared. Get a little bit of gold. Get a little bit of silver if you can't get gold. But get something that you know will retain its purchasing power. Something that many people don't understand is that during the confiscation of gold back in the 30s by FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, that 75% of Americans said, "I don't think so, buddy," and didn't turn in any of their precious metals, and they kept it. Why? Because they knew what real money was. Just yesterday, it was reported that Russia was working closely with Saudi Arabia and OPEC, who has many member nations in the BRICS consortium, on oil cuts. So they're working on oil cuts. I think they're thinking about cutting about 2-point-something million barrels per day. So we've seen the price of gas come down a little bit. Well, they're not going to come down too much because they are going to control how much oil is produced. And of course, here in the United States, what was the first thing that happened when this administration took office back a few years ago? They went ahead and shut down the Keystone Pipeline, which in itself is something that would have kept oil prices down, i.e. our gas prices down, i.e. our economy flourishing for even longer. All right, they went ahead and stopped drilling for oil. We went from being a dependent or independent nation, meaning that we did not need to get oil from outside of our borders, to being a nation where we get almost half of the oil that we need on a daily from countries that we actually probably shouldn't be doing business with. OPEC, along with Russia and other allies, agreed to a voluntary cut totaling, there you go, 2.2 million barrels per day, predominantly led by Saudi Arabia and Russia, maintaining their 1.3 million barrel cuts per day, or barrels per day being cut. The West is receiving a very clear message from this progression, meaning the de-dollarization, ladies and gentlemen. Saudi Arabia's finance minister made it quite apparent at the 2023 WEF in January that the kingdom is open to dealing in currencies other than the US dollars, which it had been doing so for the last 48 to 50 years. And here they finish it up by saying what will really be frightening is what happens when Saudi Arabia and the rest of OPEC follow suit and move officially away from the dollar as sole settlement for oil. You remember how he said that? Understand how he said that? They move officially away. I believe that they've already moved away from the dollar and they're just buying their time, i.e. they're still sitting on dollars and they want to make sure that they get some use out of those dollars before the dollar goes to nothing. Now, some say that the dollar still has a really, really long way to go. But ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you this. How much does your dollars buy you today compared to how much they bought you just 5 or 6 years ago? Or even better, how much does your dollar buy you today compared to gold? All right, from back in 1973 or 74, back when we went on the petrodollar system. You should do, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do a short video on that later on. I'll put that up as either a second or third video today or a video for tomorrow. Okay, that way we can dig into that. That way you understand that your only protection, all right, in order to be able to maintain the dollars that you earned and the hours that you put into earning those dollars, your only protection is two things, in my opinion, is to get prepared, because all of the things that you get in order to prepare, freeze-dried foods, this or that, right? There's 1,000 things that you can get. Those things you can buy today at today's prices, and it is 100% certain that 5 years from now, those things are going to cost a lot more, not only in dollars, but in your time and your labor. That's one way to get prepared. Another way to get prepared is that once you're all prepped up, that you go ahead and put your excess wealth, I'm not a financial advisor, I have to say that because I'm on the internet, into gold and silver. And it doesn't have to be a lot, and it doesn't have to be in a hurry. You can just go to the coin shop, give Genesis Gold Group a call. They sell physical as well, and just stock it up a little bit at a time. And ladies and gentlemen, slow and steady always wins the race. So again, imagine what the world would look like if all nations that have been forced to hoard dollars for the last 50 years in order to buy oil suddenly had no reason to do so and started dumping the dollars. It would be catastrophic, ladies and gentlemen. It will be the end of this system, and this system will end. How do I know that? Because not one fiat currency system in the history of mankind, all the way back since the year 1060, has ever lasted forever. I do believe, you can go ahead and fact check me on that, but I do believe that the very first fiat currency that ever existed in the year 1060 was made by China. I believe that's correct, but you can go ahead and fact check me on that, ladies and gentlemen. But not one of them, not one, has ever survived. What is it that makes people think? I'm not saying what makes the government think, because trust me, the government already knows that this system will not survive. But what is it that makes people in general think that it will? That, ladies and gentlemen, is either self-induced ignorance or ignorance just because they were never taught it. In one way, it's not the fault of the people that are ignorant to the facts because they were never taught it and were kept in the blind and have spent their lives just trying to keep their heads above water. But those people that actually have been told about this, that said, it ain't never going to happen, I'm just going to go ahead and do what I'm doing and never prepare for it. Those people, ladies and gentlemen, I think will suffer more than most because they'll know that they had a chance to do something about it. Quick story, and then I'll go ahead and cut it off and end this video. I have a friend that a long time ago I had this conversation with him. He doesn't live in Alaska anymore. But I'm telling him about all of this stuff, and he says, I agree with everything. Everything that you're saying, I agree 100% with everything that you're saying, but I'm not going to do anything. And I'm like, why wouldn't you? You have a family. You have children. And man, this guy loves his children. You know, he's like one of those dads that's always there and, you know, just doing the things with the kids, right? And he said, because when it happens, it happens. I'll be one of those guys fighting with someone over toilet paper. And I'm like, man, how ignorant is that? That you agree that something bad will happen in the future, but you will not prepare for it, even for the sake of your own family. Not only is that ignorant, ladies and gentlemen, but that is very selfish and unresponsible or irresponsible, however you want to say it. Very irresponsible to be a parent and not want to make sure that your family is okay for when bad things happen. Having said that, we will see you later on this afternoon during our live stream. Remember, that's going to be over at Grayman's channel. I will try to leave that right here. I think right here, all right? So that way you can click on it and hit notify me. And if I don't leave it right here, it's because Grayman hadn't put it up yet. All right, but go ahead and check it out. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll see you then. And I should have a second video coming out today for sure. And I will work on that other video about 1973 and how much things cost back then and how much you would be able to buy today had you kept your gold. All right, having said that, ladies and gentlemen, again, have a great day. Thank you very much for coming and clicking on this video. All right, thank you very much, and I hope that you're having a very Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah as well. God bless you all. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.